Well, hello, everybody. How are you doing? We are now live here on Facebook, and I just wanted to touch base with everybody here, and we are going to be covering, well, quite a few things here. So I'll go through everything here here in just a second. Let me boot up my presentation here. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Perfect. And I think that is perfect. Let's get rid of you. All right. Awesome. Okay. So anyhow, so basically kind of going through this here on with Facebook and going to cover the for sale by owner and the expireds. So I don't know how many of you right now are working for sale by owner and expireds, but I think probably the biggest challenge is that anytime that we are in a seller's market, which we currently are in all around the country, and is that for sale by owners sometimes have a little bit easier time of getting their homes sold just because of the lack of inventory. But also, too, the one thing that you have to consider when we're working with for sale by owners is that I know here in Omaha, Nebraska, we're in multiple offer situation, which basically means that if we list a house anywhere between 180 and 250, or basically a first-time home buyer home, you're typically going to see multiple offers. And we have seen some where we've represented the buyer, and we've written like we've been involved in 22 offers. We've had sellers that have had 20, 25 offers, which is absolutely crazy. But at the same time, imagine yourself as a for sale by owner in that type of situation. And also, too, if they just take their list price, could they have gotten a higher price, right? I mean, could they list it for 180? Could they have gotten 200? Because the other thing that we're seeing is that in multiple offer situations is we're starting to see, houses are selling for, anywhere from, $10, $15, $20,000 more, and appraising, believe it or not, than what we actually listed the home for. So anyhow, that's just kind of a little side note when you're working for sale by owners. And then expireds, I mean, if there is an expired or a lot of expireds in a market, I'm going to just have to say that that agent really is not doing their job. So let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. Let's see here. Let's resume. All right. So we're going to cover for sale by owners and expireds, and kind of in general on both those topics. We're going to talk about kind of the FSBO and expired master secrets. And then we're going to talk about how you find them, both the FSBOs and expireds. We're going to talk about how you can connect with them. And we're going to cover presentation, kind of some skills around the presentation of being face-to-face with a FSBO and being face-to-face with an expired. And so let's jump into the secrets of the for sale by owner master. Number one is you want to always get into the door honestly. And the one thing that I would never do on a for sale by owner is I would never, ever bring a buyer. That may be your in. My in always with for sale by owner was, hey, if you knew, let me wait for just a second because I'm getting ahead of myself in my presentation. So the next one is you have no competition. To be honest with you, I couldn't even imagine that there are very many people in this market, if any market, that are working for sale by owners. Me personally, we will work a for sale by owner if it's in our farm area, if it's in our zip code that we kind of, the zip codes that we work. But other than that, I don't actively search for FSBOs anymore. And again, I think FSBOs and expireds, again, it just all depends on how busy you are and where your leads are coming from and how you're doing your business too. So, because they are typically the low-hanging fruit, meaning that they're easy to find if they're out there. Another one is you want to open the for sale by owner's mind. with something maybe that they weren't thinking about before you showed up. Because a lot of times I just know with for sale by owners, it's typically an entrepreneurial minded person, and they're a little cocky. They're usually a little defensive when you're going over there to chat with them. And the last thing you ever want to do is you want to argue with a for sale by owner, because that's never going to get you the business. You want to treat it like a board game, meaning that, in a board game, Monopoly or anything, you're always rolling the dice and you're moving one step further down the board or up the board or across the board, however it is. But you want to be thinking when you're working with FSBOs that you're kind of just taking them along a journey, okay? And then are you willing to co-broke is the number one way that I would get into a for sale by owner, which basically means, hey, if I had a buyer for your home that would want to write a contract, would you be willing to co-broke? Well, co-broke, the reason why I use the phrase co-broke is because most people don't know what that is. So then they're going to ask you, what does co-broke mean? Well, would you be willing to pay a buyer's commission is all that means. And then a great one is, and you're not necessarily going to do this on the phone. This is more of a presentation face-to-face. If I could make you more money, because that's the one thing that most for sale by owners, and frankly, all real estate agents, is that if I'm going to sell a house for $200,000, if I'm going to charge a 7% commission, that's $14,000. The only way that I could help that for sale by owner without them, losing any money is sell the house for $214,000 versus $200,000, which is not true, because for the most part, whenever you're talking with a for sale by owner, and this is just years of calling them and having conversations with them, good and bad, and any of the for sale by owners that I would normally call, and they said, joyfully that, no, we've already sold our house or we've got an offer on our house. I would ask them, if you don't mind sharing, how much did you get? And for the most part, most of the times it was well below the asking price. So if they were asking 200, it was always usually about 10% lower, because the one thing that you have to figure out, if I'm a buyer who's looking at a for sale by owner and I'm willing to not go with any real estate agent and use all those services, which are typically free, and I know that they are not going to be paying a real estate commission, I'm going to take 7% directly off that price, $14,000, and then I'm going to take 3% off, typically, not always, just for negotiations. So for a lot of times, you're sitting here at 10% lower as a first initial offer. So, and then they take well below the asking price, which in the market that we're in right now, it's almost not seen of taking less than whatever the house is listed for. Typically, most of them are going for more. And then find a time or money problem. Typically, whenever you ask a for sale by owner, they always say cockily, is that even a word? Cockily, that they're in no hurry, right? We're in no hurry. So then I would go back to them and I would say, okay, well, I understand that you're in no hurry. But let me ask you this. If you still had your home a year from now, would that be a problem? And resoundingly 100% of the people I asked that for, they say, well, yeah, that would be a problem. Then I would come back and I would say, well, when wouldn't it be a problem? So that's usually you're trying to find that timing thing. And 3 months, they don't take in all the time that it takes to not just get an offer, but to get the deal to close, and then potential problems coming up with title, home inspections, appraisals, and all of that type of stuff, which for sale by owners never, ever take into consideration. All right, so let's go ahead and go into how to find a for sale by owner. These are some basic things, but newspaper, for those of you that don't know what that is, well, when we were kids, we used to get a newspaper thrown at our house, but also too, there's still advertising, believe it or not, in the newspaper, but they're also advertising in the newspaper online as well. So you can find for sale by owners in that type of publication. Zillow, everybody's on Zillow now. And so you can go in. Zillow has got a feature on there for sale by owners. They've even got a feature on there, and I haven't been on there in a while, but they used to have a feature, and maybe they still have it, called Make Me Move. And these are people that grossly overprice their house. and you know, hoping that, hey, if I get my price, I'll move. Craigslist is another one, although that has you're going to find some rough ones on there. Mainly investors are working with Craigslist. And then you got bird dogs. Bird dogs are people within your database that live around the city that you're calling them and you're talking to them and you're saying, hey, if you see a for sale by owner around your home, could you please grab a flyer, take a picture of it, send it to me? Could you please text me the address? And if you do, and I'm able to schedule an appointment, I will buy you a cup of coffee. If I'm able to sell the house, I'll buy you a nice lunch. If I close the deal, I'll buy you a nice dinner. Whatever the case may be, you're just kind of getting people to go to work for you, and they're not doing anything special other than kind of keeping their eyes open around the city, in different parts of the city that you're not necessarily living in. And then you have a company called Mojo Sells, and there's a couple other companies out there that will, you know, harvest and kind of go to all the things that I'm telling you to go to, and they will actually find FSBO leads and then email them to you, give you all the whatever information they have. They have a they do have an email address, that type of thing. But Zillow is probably the best. If I were doing anything with FSBOs right now, the one place that I would go look is Zillow. FSBO.com, I mean, that's all right, but again, Zillow is the biggest search engine right now for real estate, and that's typically where everybody is going to start because it's free. It's free for them to put their information on there. So the next topic was, you know, how to connect with for sale by owners. Obviously, we're connecting all the same way. You can call them, you can text them, you can mail them, you can email them. The fastest way, obviously, is to call or text. And I have said this before, but typically when you email somebody, you know, not everybody's opening up their emails. And actually, I think the percentage is like 3 to 5% of people actually read an email, because a lot of times things are even going to spam. The other thing, when it comes to calling people, 22% of people that get a phone call are answering. For the majority, they're sending it to voicemail, especially if they don't know your phone number. But I don't know, maybe they could know your phone number and you're going to voicemail as well. But texting is probably the best way to connect with somebody, because 97% of all people who will receive the text message. They typically read it, but they don't typically answer you right away, but they will get that text message. So what do you send them? So if you're going to send them an email, and for me, this is something, you know, you can email this, you can text this, you can call them and ask them about this. But the subject line, if you're sending an email, is your home for sale, right? Then are you offering a commission if a realtor brings the buyer in and sells your home? I would love to help you sell it, you know, and then my name is, phone number, signature, whatever the case may be. But it's just a simple, easy text. It's an easy, you know, email to send. But I'll just tell you right now, for the majority of people that are trying to sell their house on their own, they typically will work with a buyer's agent. For the most part, they're not looking to not pay any commission. They just don't want to pay the full commission, and they think the full commission is 7%, which in reality, in all cities, that's usually not the case. But so, all right, what else we got? So FSBO Presentation. So this is a presentation that I will share on Master Real Estate Academy on the private page, not the public page, but the private page. And then if you want, I will email this to you as well. But I've got the dialogue behind it on what you're supposed to say behind each slide. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through each slide with you, so that way you kind of understand what it is. And if you get excited about it and want to know more about it, I can work with you on it. So the one thing that you want to understand, that when you go to, again, however you get over to the house, that's the only point of texting. That's the only point of calling them. You do not want to try to sell them over the phone. You cannot sell a FSBO or anybody to list their house with you over the phone. So, what they may come at you and say, because the biggest thing with a FSBO is commission. They don't want to have to pay you a commission. So from that standpoint, they may say something to the effect of, what do you charge for a commission? You say, well, I'm glad that you asked. It seems that commission is important to you. Let me ask you this. Why don't we have, I don't even know if I have a buyer for your home yet, but I'd like to come over, take a look at it. And while I'm there, I'll bring you a couple things. One is I'll bring you a report that will help you for the least amount of money out of your pocket, get your home ready for the market. Because a lot of times people don't know what to do within their house. And there's some really cheap things that you can do in order to get your home sold for more money. And then the other thing we'll do is I'll kind of go through some things with you, and again, what you're willing to sell your home for, and even if you're interested in potentially hiring an agent like me, we'll agree on whatever. I promise I won't try and talk you in to listing your home. Okay. But for the majority of people, the easy way to get in to the door is to want to go take a look at the house, because you may have a potential buyer. You never tell them, even if you do have a buyer, don't tell them that you have one, okay? Because the odds of your buyer actually liking the house are really, really slim, okay? So you get over to the house, you're going to do just the natural thing. You're going to ring the bell, you're going to smile, you're going to pay them a compliment, and then you're going to take them to the kitchen table. Okay. And then as you kind of walk through, for me, I don't necessarily, and for sale by owners, try to take full control of the appointment while I'm there. I will, if they want to walk around the house first, we'll walk around the house first. And while I'm walking around the house, I'll ask them, hey, if you're okay with it, I'd love to maybe show you some things while I'm walking around the house that might make your home a little bit more sellable. Would you be okay with that? They say yes. Then you might be able to offer some suggestions as you're walking through. But also, too, you're going to want to ask them the magic question, right? And the magic question for a FSBO is, if I could net you more money in your pocket than you could doing everything on your own, and help you make one more dollar than you possibly can, you get your weekends and you get everything free, would you be willing to sit down and maybe talk about how I can do that? Well, how are you going to do that? Well, I don't know yet, but what I'd like to do, if you're okay with it, it'll take me about 15 or 20 minutes. I got a little presentation, the facts and the reasons why people hire real estate agents. Would you be open to that? And again, the mind is like a parachute, right? It works best when it's open. So for the most part, if they are not open to that, you're not going to be able to get them to the kitchen table. So, but once you get them to the kitchen table and you're able to go through this presentation, you're basically going to go through these slides, right? So, and the presentation is what every for sale by owner should know. Like 3 facts. Number 1, sellers have been employing realtors for over 200 years. And Mr. For sale by owner or Mrs. For sale by owner, wouldn't you like to know why that's the case? I mean, there really is only one other business that is older than a real estate business. You guys all know what that is, right? If not, Google it. Number 2, 70% of all for sale by owners choose a realtor or change their plans, right? So again, when you're looking at 10 real for sale by owners, 7 of the 10 end up hiring, and actually I think that's actually even higher. It might be 8 out of 10 that end up choosing a real estate agent over going through, or they may just stay where they're at and change their plans. And if that were true, wouldn't you like to know the number one reason on why that is true? You would? Okay, great. I'll be sure to share that with you. And then number 3, realtors can sell houses faster and for more money. I don't know if you knew that, but because of some of the tools that we have access to, we're able to sell houses a lot quicker and able to put more money in your pocket. And isn't that something that you're trying to do, is get the most amount of money put in your pocket? It is? Okay. And if that were true, would you want me to show you the number one reason on why that is true? You would? Okay, great. All right. So then you go through it's actually not 6 obvious reasons. I didn't change that. It's 5 obvious reasons. So serious buyers only shop for sell by owners to save a commission. We kind of touched on this a little bit ago, but if you really look at it, Mr. and Mrs. For sell by owner, if you were a serious buyer, okay, you could hire a real estate agent, which costs you nothing, okay? And what that real estate agent is going to do for you is they're going to probably put you in their car. I mean, granted, gas is down, but gas is still pretty expensive. And they're going to use their gas. They're going to use their resources. They're going to, once you do find the house that you want to write an offer on, and in today's market, it may be a multiple offer situation, they're going to be able to help you and guide you through the best way to be able to write up that offer. They are going to be able to negotiate the deal. They're going to be able to maneuver any of the relationships that need to be title company, home inspection company, home warranty company, termite, survey. They're going to be able to make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, everything's done. And they're going to be able to do it at their own convenience, meaning they can do it face-to-face, or they could do it, online because of .loop and all the tools that we have available for us. And then once they do get an offer accepted, then they're going to order the home inspection. They're going to order the home warranty. They're going to order the appraiser. They're going to be able to maneuver the buyer and work with the other buyer's agent when it comes to the financing, and then kind of take it all the way to close. Any hiccups come up, they're going to be able to handle any of those challenges, make sure that everything's done legally. And then, when it does close, then, the agent, at least this is what we do, we buy a little gift at the end. So, so if somebody were willing to go through all of that, give up all of that free service and decide to just maybe jump on Zillow, because that's really one of the only resources that they have, to be able to try to search for the only homes that don't have real estate agents attached. If they're willing to do all of that themselves, do you think that they would be willing to pay you the full commission that it comes to with your home? Oh, and by the way, let me ask you this. Are you guys buying another home? Oh, you are. Okay. So when you do purchase that next home, are you going to be using a real estate agent? Oh, you are. Okay. So you're okay with using an agent to buy a house, but not sell a house. Why is that? Oh, because it's free for you. Okay. All right. Okay. So I understand. Let me show you the second reason, which is the law of supply and demand. Okay. So we have right now, we currently have 1,000 real estate agents. And again, this is something that you would fill out for you. How many agents you have in your board of realtors, what's the average number of prospects for each, which is about, I'm going to say probably 8 to 12 prospects, and anymore, it's more than that because you have your online leads and everything else. So on average, a real estate agent probably is working with about 10 prospects each, which gives us a total of 10,000 prospects that are actually out there looking for homes. And the average day to close right now is 122 days. Now we know right now, getting off script, it's not 122 days to close. Okay. But you need to figure out from beginning to end on what it takes to close, because you're going to run that in there and you say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. For Sale by Owner, if it takes 1,000 realtors with 10,000 prospects, and currently right now, how many do you have? Oh, you did an open house and you had 1 or 2 through there. Okay, so you have 3. So if we have 1,000 real estate agents, because you're in the multiple listing service with 10,000 prospects, and it takes us 122 days to get your money to you, how much time do you think it's going to take you to sell your home as a for sale by owner? I mean, all this stuff does is it just opens their mind a little bit, and it gets them to think about things that maybe they haven't thought about. Now, when I go through this presentation, I may not even go through all of these. I may just go through 1 or 2 of the reasons to where they've been convinced, but also too, it's a relationship thing. So you're probably not going to leave there with a listing. They're going to need to think about it. But at the same time, there's no other real estate agent that is going to be coming to talk to them that's going to show them this type of a presentation. And then the difficulty of separating lookers from buyers. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you have somebody come through your open house, when you have somebody pull up and they pull up in a Lexus, you're probably going to think, wow, that's a pretty solid buyer. For the most part, it may not be a solid buyer. You don't know what their credit score is. You don't know any of that type of stuff. And that's what we do as professionals, because we're willing to ask the tough questions. So how do you tell a looker from a buyer? It's tough to do if you don't ask the right questions. So I want you to look at this. When you're separating the lookers from buyers, I don't know about you guys, but 70%, 7 out of 10 buyers typically have frozen equity. And basically what that means is that they have they have to sell a house before they actually purchase one. So if they wrote you an offer, they're gonna have to make it contingent upon their home selling or closing if they've already got an offer on it, but they need that equity to be able to close on the next one. And then 15% prefer to rent. So you got people coming through open houses. Who knows why they're coming through open houses, but they would rather rent a home rather than having, things and a mortgage. 11% can't even afford the house that they're going in to look at. So again, they just drove by the home, they're walking in. It may not be the price range that they're in. If they haven't talked to a lender yet, they don't know that. But also too, as a for sale by owner, and they're just popping in, they don't know what the price is until they pop in to talk to you. And then 4%. So 4 out of 10 buyers that are out there right now are ready, willing, and able, meaning that they don't have a home to sell, or they already have their house sold, or they can do a bridge loan on their home. Obviously, I'm not going to be sticking people in my car that prefer to rent. I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to be putting people in my car and showing them houses that they can't afford. So that's kind of what we do in the industry, is we're separating people who can buy versus people who can't buy. So anyhow, and those numbers come from the National Association of Realtors. And then marketing services equal exposure. So we're going to market your home. We're going to shoot videos. We got COVID-19 going on. There's a lot of services that we do now to be able to make sure that your home is safe for people to come in and look at. So exposure equals more prospects, so that we're going to spider this out. We're going to advertise it to all the real estate agents that have those 10,000 prospects, and prospects equals more value. So when I talked to you earlier about multiple offer situations, if you have only 2 people, all you need is 2. But if you have 14 people that are interested in your home at the same time that are all writing offers, do you think you're going to get less than the list price? No, you're going to get a lot more, and who knows how much more. I've seen it go 10, 15, 20, and depending upon the price range, $50,000 more than what it's actually worth. So it just all depends on who wants it more. Next one is third-party negotiation saves time and money. So from a standpoint of me, the real estate agent, one of the reasons why most people hire a real estate agent, if you ask them, is because of negotiation skills. And so we're not personally, well, let me go through them with you. So the advantages of third-party negotiation: 1, we're trained negotiators. Means that we do this every day, right? So that's the other thing. If you're going to hire a real estate agent, you want to make sure that you go with somebody that is writing contracts on a weekly basis. Because if they're not, things are changing. Skills, it doesn't take long for somebody in our industry to forget things when they're not writing offers on a regular basis. And for me, a regular basis is that they should be at the very minimum, maybe writing 2 or 3 or maybe 4 offers a month. And then we're not emotionally attached means that you're emotionally attached to your home. I'm not emotionally attached to your home. I'm going to try to figure out what your needs are. I'm going to talk with the other agent and try to find out what the buyer's needs are. We're going to try to come together. That's what part of the negotiation is. And then we're able to avoid pitfalls, right? So with the relationships that we have and all the aspects of getting a home closed, we're able to kind of avoid certain things, ask the right questions up front, so that way we keep the transaction going in the right direction. Understands the needs of both parties. I just kind of touched on that one. So we understand the needs of the buyer and the seller. And so now that you know that serious buyers only shop for sell by owners to save the commission, and understand the law of supply and demand, you understand the difficulty separating lookers from buyers, and more marketing services ultimately equals more buyers, and third-party negotiation saves you time and money. Doesn't it just make sense to hire a real estate agent? So that's the for sell by owner presentation. And again, kind of the dialogues that are all in there. I have this presentation that that you can have, and also too, we will be posting this on the site. So Marketability Checklist is for the expireds. So let's talk about it. So Marketability Checklist is a bird's eye view of the factors that will cause a home to either sell or not sell. And it will help you pinpoint exactly why your home didn't sell and avoid making the same mistakes twice. So twice, meaning they had their house on the market before. And so now we're trying to get them to understand that, we're going to do something a little bit different for them, trying to get their house on the market again. And then basically your close, would something like that be a value? You're asking them, hey, would you like to go through a marketability checklist? So, so that's kind of the idea of, let me back up here a little bit. So that's what we got. So that is our presentation today. So if you guys have any questions at all, I want you to please feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to be able to help you in any way. If you decide to go after for sale by owners, if you decide to go after expireds, we'd be more than happy to help you in all that. So, all right, you guys have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.